All right. Well, hello, everybody. As I said, my name is Jacqueline Patone, and I am a career development counselor at the Career Center here at UNCW. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about the job and internship search. And then what that kind of looks like, how to prepare, how to have somewhat of a timeline, and then also different resources that we suggest using that you have access to at UNCW. All right, so first and foremost, I really like to talk about what employers are looking for, because I think a lot of times students have like questions on, or they'll say, I don't have any experience. I don't know what to put on my resume, but we'll kind of talk through that a little bit more, but this is really what employers are looking for. On the right-hand side here, what we have is the top skills that employers and graduate schools are looking for as it relates to recent college graduates. So critical thinking, problem solving, oral written communication, teamwork, collaboration, and the rest of those on those lists. And I like to really showcase this to show that every single college student is cultivating these skills in a variety of different ways. And all experience can be experience that you can put on your resume. So whether that's a part-time job, an internship, a club or organization, volunteer experience, any of that stuff can be relevant experience. Also, even a course project is something that I highly recommend that a lot of students put on there as well. So just keep that in mind, that you really want to focus on selling these skills regardless of what industry you want to go into. These are really important soft skills and things that employers are looking for. So I kind of like to start with this just to get you into the mindset of thinking about what this could look like as it relates to your particular internship or job search. So exploring options. So first and foremost, step one, I think, of the process of applying for a job or looking for an internship is really just narrowing down what your options are and doing your best to be, particular in what type of positions you might want to apply for, and also what you might be interested in, what you might also have the experience for. So these are a couple of different ways that you can kind of explore those options and narrow it down a little bit more. So first and foremost, career exploration. I cannot stress that enough. Career exploration isn't just for, freshman students. I think it's the entire time that you're in college, just trying to hone in on, potentially what you might want to do after you graduate. So you always have the opportunity to schedule an appointment with a career counselor. We have career counselors that range across different majors. So I work with education students. We have someone that works with deciding students, Cameron School of Business, the College of Arts and Sciences. So there's always going to be a counselor that you can meet with. And you can always schedule an appointment online through Handshake or calling us. I also wanted to showcase a couple different assessment tools that we have. So Pathway U is a really great and free resource for UNCW students. It takes into account your interests and values and kind of shows you a variety of different career options that might be a good fit for you. What I also really like is that it ties it back into UNCW majors and majors we actually offer. So I think it's a really helpful and intuitive resource. What can I do with the major in showcases all the majors that we have at UNCW and potential career paths within that and potential job titles. On each one of those links on our website, there also is different job and internship search links and associations and things you can be a part of. So it's also a really great resource, I think, as you're an upperclassman as well. And then we also have a resource called Candid Career, which is just short informational interviews and short videos that you can watch to learn a little bit more about potential career paths. Again, all of this stuff is just incredibly helpful to kind of narrow your scope a little bit more, and also just to get an idea of what opportunities are available to you, as well as job shadowing, informational interviewing, any type of internship or volunteering. I think any single one of those opportunities can really help you hone in on potential internships or potential career paths that you could be interested in. All right, so with that, I think kind of the next step in the process, and I know there's a lot of background to beginning the job search process, but I think each one of these steps is just equally important. So refining your tools. So what I mean about with that is just creating your personal brand. So, getting your resume looked at is so important. If you have not ever done that, you would be surprised at the feedback that you could get. And you're always welcome to schedule an appointment with a career counselor or come into our express hours, which we have every single day between 2 and 4. And then Wednesday and Thursday between 9 and 11. We have a Zoom link on our website. But it's always helpful to refine those documents and then get them ready to go so that when you are getting to the point that you want to apply for internships, you have that stuff kind of squared away. Because a lot of times that's the first thing that these employers are seeing is that resume and that cover letter, especially if it's not someone that you know. Alongside that, refining your online platform. So Handshake is the online job board that we use at UNCW that the Career Center manages. And there's opportunities to search for jobs as well. We highly encourage that you update your profile. You can also upload a resume as well. And employers are searching for talent through that platform. Also LinkedIn. LinkedIn is an incredibly helpful tool, especially in the still somewhat virtual world that we're a part of right now. So making sure that you have an updated LinkedIn profile, that you have as good of a profile picture as possible. The Career Center does offer professional headshot days throughout the semester. They've already happened this semester, but in upcoming semesters, that could be something that you might want to look out for. We can also help you utilize that platform, the job search platform. Also, there's a really awesome feature called the alumni tool. If you were to search UNCW, you can actually see all of the alumni that have a profile. You can see what they majored in. You could see what internships or what jobs they've held. And I think that's an incredibly useful tool just to get, again, more insight on what the job search could look like for you. And there's also, of course, the job search link on the LinkedIn platform as well. And then also social media. I've heard this across the board from a variety of different employers. They are looking at social media. So just making sure we're cleaning that up and being really cognizant of some of the things that we might be posting on there. Because if it's on the internet, it kind of becomes free game for recruiters or potential employers to see that stuff. So just making sure you're thinking about this well in advance of an internship or job search. And then that last piece, interviewing skills. Most people don't like interviews. They can be a little bit stressful. They can be a little bit difficult. But making sure that we're practicing that, practicing top 10 interview questions or, going in for a mock interview, scheduling an appointment with one of us at the Career Center, we can really help you hone in on that. But it is an important part of the process, especially for internships or full-time jobs. Those might feel a little bit more intense than typical interviews. So definitely making sure that we're practicing some of that as well. So using the job description. So what I mean by this is I kind of talked about creating your personal brand, creating all of your documents, but you definitely want to make sure that those documents are geared towards the jobs that you want to apply for. So you might have a variety of different resumes. You might have different versions of it. And especially for cover letters, there really isn't a one size fits all for cover letters, which sometimes is hard because they're not always the easiest to write, but just making sure that we're utilizing the job description to our advantage. So one thing that I really like to do that I think is incredibly helpful is I like to look at the job description. If I can print it out, great. If not, I copy and paste it into a Word document. And I like to go through it and I like to highlight, keywords or phrases or, duties of the job that I know that I could do really well. Or that I know that I have done in previous jobs or whatever that looks like to you. And I like to make sure that I'm embedding these keywords and some of these phrases throughout my documents. So my resume, my cover letter, throughout my interview, that I might be referencing some of this stuff. Because again, they're telling you exactly what they are looking for. And it's your job to kind of show them like, yes, I have the skills, the experiences, and the knowledge base. And I'm going to show you how through my resume, which sounds crazy because a lot of times, resumes are, one page, single space. So it can be hard to think about cramming that information in. But that is such an important step of the job search process. And internship search is just making sure that we're really utilizing that job description and tailoring our documents to that. And we can definitely help you with that process. But I absolutely think like the highlighting thing that I talked about is really helpful, especially as you begin the process of like updating your resume, or if you've never really created a resume before, or if you're just wanting to look at how you might fine tune it. Oops. Next slide. So job search platforms. So with this, there's a variety of different ways that you can find jobs. And I'm curious for those of you, the two that are in our chat right now or in the meeting right now, if you could maybe share with us what you are currently doing or using to find internships or jobs, or what are some avenues you might use. So different like internet platforms or things like that. So again, what are you currently doing or using to find internships and job opportunities?
Hi, Jacqueline. This is Sarah Kessler, and I work in the Cameron School of Business. So I do this sort of stuff with students as well. And
Awesome.
our biggest piece of advice in terms of search platforms is cast a wide net. So don't just use one, because although there may be overlap if you search for the same types of jobs with similar filters on different platforms, but you're going to find different results a lot of times. So find a couple that you're comfortable with, check them regularly, and set up those alerts to get emails often from them about jobs that meet your criteria. But obviously we like Handshake. That's a great one because the employers know that primarily a lot of students and recent alums are looking there, but it's not the be all end all. So we like Handshake. I really like Glassdoor because they also have company ratings.
Yep.
LinkedIn obviously is a really good one. We use CareerShift a lot, also using that to find contacts to reach out to after we apply. And those are the ones that I use probably the most often, but there are certainly lots of others. But yeah, Handshake, CareerShift, LinkedIn, Glassdoor. I also even like the Muse and ZipRecruiter, and I've recently started using an aggregate job board. Have you used Google for Jobs?
Yes.
I really like Google for Jobs. It simplifies things because it's pulling from so many places.
It does. It does. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. You literally hit the nail on the head. So I'm
sorry, I wasn't trying to.
No, I love that. It's helpful to hear your expertise, and especially because, this is something we're going to share with students. So I appreciate that. And as you can see, when you look at what I put up there, you've pretty much touched on every single one of these. So Handshake, again, is one of the I think it's just a great platform. A lot of employers are using it. What's really nice about Handshake too, it's very user-friendly for students, but also it is a national platform. So it's jobs, across the country. So it's not just limited to North Carolina. And then on top of that, you as UNCW students also have access to Handshake for life. So when you're an alumni, we can set you up with your alumni account. So that's a really cool resource as well. And then you mentioned Google searches. I love Google. If you literally go into Google and you type in, like, let's say I type in career counseling jobs in North Carolina, it pulls from all different places and puts it in one little screen. And what's nice about that, it also tells you the source of the job as well. So if it's on LinkedIn, if it's on ZipRecruiter, Glassdoor, Indeed, it kind of showcases that. So I do think that's a helpful resource. That's actually how I found the UNCW job that I have currently. When I was exiting grad school, I actually did a Google search because I knew I wanted to move to North Carolina, and I actually saw UNCW. So that's awesome that you listed that. Another resource that I like to mention that you also mentioned was CareerShift, that a lot of students don't know about. So CareerShift is an online job board that students have access to through the specific link. It's also located onto Handshake, which lists the specific link. So if you Google it, it's not going to be the UNCW link. So I like to put that out there because this is a paid platform that we have, but it's free to students. And this actually pulls from all different job boards, and it also puts it in one place as well. And it's also really nice if you're looking for positions, in different cities or different states. It does a really good job of being able to like narrow down your job search. And there's a lot of different filters and things that students can use as well. But I think it's an incredibly helpful resource. I have Indeed on there, but Glassdoor, ZipRecruiter, all of those are options. I also have Going Global on here, which is a resource that we use with students. If students are interested in opportunities abroad, there's a lot of information on there. Another great resource that students can access for being a UNCW student. And then also LinkedIn. I talked about that quite a bit on the other slide, but there's the job search tool, there's the alumni tool. There's just a really great way to be proactive with your job search. Students can also follow different company pages. They can connect with recruiters. They can connect with their professors, colleagues, internship supervisors they might have had. It's just a really great way to build your network. And it's become increasingly important, obviously, with a lot of things being virtually for at least the next few months. Which also leads me to that next piece. The very first one that I have here is networking. This is truly the most important part about the job search, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. So, in terms of networking, 70 to 80% of jobs are obtained through networking. And a lot of times, job positions are filled before they're even posted online, whether that's through somebody they know, promotions within the company, a referral from somebody. This is such a high statistic, but it shows that just applying online isn't necessarily enough. So I always like people to start thinking about like who is in their network. And for me, parents, there's relatives, professors are great ones, career center staff, advisors across campus, former bosses or colleagues, connections from volunteering, peers, even friends, alumni, which that's why I love the alumni tool. On LinkedIn so much because it's so easy to connect with alumni. That's one of the very first things I did when I moved to North Carolina from Michigan was I connected with Michigan State alumni. I also happened to work with somebody at Michigan State at the time as well. So just know that your network is so important and it's never too early to start really cultivating that network. You never know who you might meet, what connections they might have, what advice they might be able to give you. And this little graphic here, I love so much because it kind of showcases, where we start. So internships or job searches, we start by dropping our resume, and employers really start by promoting or hiring someone whose work that they know. And then they'll go to a referral from a friend, then they'll go through a trusted organization, and then they'll go to the online posting, where as you can see, a lot of us go straight to like our resume and an online job. So trying our best to meet in the middle, or through knowing somebody that really is to your advantage. Anytime that you can connect with an employer right now, whether it's virtually through a virtual career fair, a lot of companies are doing like virtual like meet and greets, or their own mini career fairs, or once things do go back in person, attending in-person events. The career center has the career and internship fair. I know Cameron School of Business has a lot of events with employers as well. So anytime students can really connect that way, that's more to your advantage, and it also builds a more personal connection. And like I said, you can follow up with these people, you can follow them on LinkedIn, or just connect with them in other ways. But that is such an important part of the job search that I think often gets missed. So utilizing Handshake. So I just wanted to provide a little bit of a visual. Every single student has access to Handshake. It's just their single sign-on. And then they already have a profile. They just have to go in and update it. So this is just what it looks like for the job search feature. So you can filter by full-time job, part-time job, internships, filter off-campus or off-campus, filtering by state. So there's a lot of opportunity here. And as being an insider at the Career Center, we are constantly improving jobs and employers every single day. And so this is just a really great tool. And as Sarah mentioned earlier, continuing to check your different platforms, right? Like the job search is 100% a process. So being consistent, being diligent, checking back in, following up, the the world of work is constantly changing. So just having a couple tools under your belt, I definitely think is helpful for students to really start thinking about. And also, not to be discouraged, right? Like this year has had a lot of challenges with the job search, with finding internships, and things are constantly changing, with new regulations, with things going fully in person. Some jobs are becoming fully remote. So just being like patient with your job search, but also being proactive and utilizing a variety of different platforms is definitely to your advantage. So what is the timeline? So this is a little bit more geared towards internships, but can certainly be applied to the job search as well. So I always like to tell people, fall break, or around the fall time, really exploring like your internships and options, or interest in your different options. So like I mentioned earlier, like kind of narrowing down that scope a little bit more around winter break, beginning the process of like searching for things, applying for things. We also have our big career fair that happens in the fall during the winter semester or the spring semester. So that could also be a really great opportunity to network with employers and find opportunities. Also trying to secure an internship around the time of spring break. I always tell people this is a tentative timeline. Timeline for every employer is very different, but creating a timeline, creating goals for yourself, I think it just helps the process be much more organized. I also oversee an internship program right now, and we are just like offering students internships like this current week. And a lot of students had to withdraw because they found internship opportunities earlier in March. So that's something to keep in mind and being proactive with your job search, because again, employers really are actively recruiting during that time frame. And then also like start date for the summer. So again, this is a very tentative time frame, and you could change this based on the semester that you're graduating or when you might be looking for a position. But this is all just to show you that applying for a job and internship is a process, and it takes time. And it's something that typically doesn't happen overnight for most people, but if it does, that's awesome. So the next piece I like to show people is how long before you get a job offer. So the average time from a job posting to an interview is 38 days. So that is a pretty big chunk of time, right? Like that's a little over a month. And so the average time from an interview to an offer is 24 days. So as you can see, you want to start early, you want to be proactive because again, the job search is a process on both ends, and it can take time, especially depending on your industry and what you're looking for. So just being sure that you're not leaving things till too last minute, because I do think it's important that we start thinking about this stuff. And this is the same, I think, for an internship as well, just giving yourself some time, especially if you're doing an internship for credit, or if you have goals of doing it during a certain semester, just making sure that you're kind of starting a little bit early so you can start to get an idea of what's out there. So I've done a lot of talking, but I did want to just highlight a couple helpful resources. So I already mentioned our Career Express lane, so our hours every day where you can meet with a career counselor. You're always welcome to schedule an appointment online as well. We do have our career and internship fair. There is one every semester, so typically in the September range and the February range. So those are some events that I would definitely, keep in your radar as you start thinking about ways that you can connect with employers more on a one-on-one basis. We do have, Career Fest that's going to be happening in the fall. So another opportunity to connect with alumni, do a little bit of that exploration piece. Every semester, we do have an event called Resumania, which is really great. It's an opportunity to get your resume reviewed by different employers across the Wilmington area. So it's always great to get some feedback, not just from the Career Center staff, but actual employers as well. Also, big interview. I mentioned the importance of interviewing because that tends to be a really taxing, and stressful process for a lot of people. So doing your best to practice that. Learn more about like the process, as well as this is a tool that you can also record yourself to kind of get a little bit bigger or better an idea of some of your mannerisms, how you might move your hands, etc. Especially if you're not used to virtual internships, that could be a really great tool. Oops. And then lastly, we recognize that this is such a stressful process sometimes. Finding an internship, finding a job can be very difficult. And we just want you to know that, we are here to support you. Your advisors here, career counselors, we really want the best for our students. So if you're ever feeling overwhelmed, if you ever need you have questions or you just want to talk through the job process with somebody because you've never done it before, absolutely take advantage of our resources, meet with your career counselor, come to Express Hours, attend some of our events, because we're really here to help with the process and provide a little bit of ease of mind and also help with your confidence throughout this process as well. I know I've used the word process so much, but this really is a process and we really want to help support you through that internship and that job search. So my last slide, and then I'll open it up to questions. But this is just different resources or different appointments that you could always meet with us about. But I like to put this out there because, again, you might have questions on like the major career exploration part, or you might have questions on the internship piece. But we do provide services across all of these and more. And I would also now like to open it up to you if you have any questions for me. You're more than welcome to unmute yourself, or you can type something in the chat. And if you don't have any questions, oops, I did not mean to say stop. Awesome. Well, thank you both for attending and sticking this through with me. I'm actually just going to go ahead and stop recording.